Good evening. Well, it said it would rain on Saturday. It didn't in the afternoon. We've been out. I don't know if you can see, it's pouring down now. So anyway, we've organised some lights and it's the last job on the tractor. Now I need a cushion, and I was hoping to get some leather and just make a cushion. It's not no posh cushion, it's just a tractor cushion. Anyway, I do have one of these old Hessian potato sacks, and it hasn't got any writing on, unfortunately. Anyway, I've washed it today. It's still slightly damp. I was going to put it out and dry it, but the weather hasn't let us. But anyway, what they used to do, of course, was fold them up and use them as a cushion on tractors. It was very, very common. So what I'm going to try and do is to make a cushion. As I say, it won't be posh, but with that as a cover. And I'm still not I don't know if this will work, or you know, if it's doing it. Anyway, I've got plenty of lamps, haven't I? So I'll put my lamp up. Look, my meter lamp that works. I'm not short of lamps, am I? And I put a decent bulb in my overhead light, which does pull up and down, look. So we can adjust that. And I think I'm organised. So what I'm going to try and do is, it needs to be, I've had a look at a tractor seat today, not my own, but they're all the same, about 1 foot by 10 inches. And my mate Steve, who's just bought his, we went and fetched the Ford, but you didn't get the video because he's so paranoid of video. I didn't take one, which is a shame, because he wouldn't have minded at the end of the day, and it would have been a good video, which we did on Wednesday. I think I mentioned it. Anyway, so what I've got to do is get this good knife and cut this cushion open and cut a square of foam with a rounded back, and it must be about 10 inches by about 1 foot. You know, it's all about stuff. And then what I'm going to do is try and unpick this, see if I can unpick it, and possibly using this as the same thread sew it together. I was hoping actually to sew it with my old Singer sewing machine. You know, that would have done a job, but I think this will work. We'll have to see. You know, we can only try. So it's the last job really I've got to do. So I thought, well, you know, just for a video we'll do it and show you. And you know, like you, I've no idea how it'll turn out or if it'll be any good. Right, we'll start unpicking this maybe. And like I said, while I'm doing it, I'll just, because I've got some new subscribers, I will just tell you a little bit about what's happened and everything else. Not a lot, you know, I'm not going to bore you to death, hopefully. It's not my life story, but just tell you a little bit about what I've been up to this last, well, few years or so. I came here, by the way, to this house in May 1979, and I realised straight away that I didn't have a workshop, you know, anything like that, so I had to use my house. Now I bought this house to live in, so that's why I decided that the upstairs bedroom had to be used as a so-called or a makeshift workshop. I had nothing outside, as you've seen, and so that's what we've done. Now this is I'm different to most people, as you know already, in many ways. But one is, a house is a home for me. It's somewhere to live and somewhere to do my stuff. It's not a showpiece. It's not an investment. It's somewhere to live. That's what makes me different. One of me differences from most people. This, by the way, is unpicking quite well, if you can see that. I don't think we're going to be able to stop the ends fraying, and it looks like I'm going to have to sew it by hand. Anyway, so we came here in '79, and I was working in the factory just down the road, and so I stayed here, and I stayed in my job because it was handy, I suppose. So that's what we've done. I mean, it's quite simple really. And then I know most of you know that I had to stop working when I was 43 in 1990, and I left on my own to manage on little after that, which is what should been done me good, because you know, we have managed very well on little, right? It's about finance. As I said, in many ways I'm the richest man in the world other than financial. And luckily again for me, where I grew up, I've mentioned to, some people will have heard him mentioned, Carl, my friend Benter, that was in the village. He taught me how to do things, and that's why you see me doing things for very little money, you know, because that's what he taught us to do. So I've been very fortunate in many ways. However, as I say, this is, what did we do on my tractor? I'm trying to think of something I've done. Oh, my box. Yeah, of course. I have finished it. If I get time on this video, I'll show you. We're not going to make it too long. So, we're just unpicking this. And then what I've got to do is cut a piece of foam about the right shape, as best I can. And then I've got to work out which of this sack will make a cushion cover for it. And then I've got to work out how to sew it together. So that's what we're on with on this damp Saturday night. Well, I've got this unpicked, and it looks quite decent inside. There's some holes there, as you can see, so we don't want those. But this edge is quite nicely done still. Looks fairly strong and secure. So I think there's one bit on this corner I don't want to cut yet. I was thinking I could use that nice edge that's been stitched along there, but I don't think I can. So what I think I'm going to do, there is a bit there, but we'll get away with it. Now, so first of all, I think the easiest way of doing this, I'm not sure if there is an easy way, we want a foot, so I'm going to go a couple of inches more and just see if I can cut through this. Oh, this knife's working quite well. It's quite a sharp knife. Now, as I said, there's a story with this knife. Sorry, I'm in the floor, you won't see what I'm doing, but you're not missing anything anyway. But the thing is, on one of my boating adventures, first Boston trip, I thought, oh, I'll go to Boston on my own. And they raised the water in the start of April. So I went on my own this night, and I was a little bit early. And I thought, oh, what's that under that tree? And I went under so I went over to investigate. Now, I'm not bothered going near the bank, you know, it don't worry me in the slightest, never has done. It was that was on wood enough, it wouldn't boat, never a problem. Anyway, I went over to this tree and I thought, well, nothing there, of course. I was just wasting time. Anyway, suddenly the boat came to a stop. I got something around the prop. Well, again, that's not a problem normally. Only this time, oh, problem, you wouldn't believe it. You really wouldn't believe it. It was what I can describe a net made of like nylon fishing line, but quite a big one. Probably one of the nets that you put over those small trailers when you've got livestock in. You know, if you have a couple of sheep in a small trailer, you put one of those nets over it. Anyway, it got around this prop. And I got a knife on the boat, I wasn't bothered, it was quite cold. I got my stove to get dry. Well, anyway, I jumped over, put my Wellingtons on, and the water came over my Wellingtons, of course. I couldn't reach the bank, because this net was embedded in the riverbed. So I was stuck off the bank. Luckily, I had my gangplank to get on the bank. So I jumped over with my knife I carry, did about 4 cuts, and it went blunt. I thought, oh dear, I mean, this is getting serious. So, luckily I know someone just up the road, so I walked up to them, and he gave me this carving knife, and it did the job. That's the upshot of it was, it actually did the job. And so, I'm only putting this, you don't need to see it. And we'll get this bit of sponge out and see what it looks like. It's got some nice rounded corners one side, which is okay. So look, we've got some nice sponge I can use. There's a button thing here. I'm going to have to be careful not to cut it. Does it go all the way through? It does. Well, that's easy. That's easy. I can leave that in. There we are. Right, we've got a nice bit of sponge I can use. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed how this room floor has been absolutely cluttered up with tools and that this morning, just for your entertainment, because I need somewhere to work. I've spent a couple of hours taking all my tools upstairs and clearing the space. It's the first time I've seen the floor for about 2 months, I think, or more. Anyway, back to the boating story with the knife. So I got this knife and started ashing about with on this rope. Well, it went blunt as well. And I was cold, by the way. It was you know, April. It was quite cool. So I got back in, lit the fire, dried my clothes. I only had 10 minutes before I was freezing. So I went back and had another go. Anyway, I rang my mate Roy about 8 o'clock and I says, oh, I'm stuck. Well, do you want rescuing? I says, well, I don't know. I said, I could do. Oh, by the way, although I don't take any food, it wasn't that far to walk to Boston, but there's a local pub where I stopped luckily. So I went to the pub and had a meal, that was alright. Came back, and with me ashing about, so anyway, long story short, they came on the boat the next day to rescue me and drag me off. And on the way back, the prop did actually start turning, so I cut enough to do it. And I got back, and the next day, I just dragged the boat to the side of the river, cut the rest of the rope off, which was easy, and I went back to Boston and picked a mate up who had taken his boat out the water and run him back to his car. So that's the saga. Now, hey, look here, there's a number on here. I didn't see that. I bet you've seen it first, have you? You've seen that. So when they're doing it, someone's written the size on there, look. 46 by 14 by 5. Is that inches? I think it's inches. There we are. So that's a nice bit of sponge, that. That will do. So now we need the size. Now, the reason, as I say, I've sort of measured the seat today, and it wants to be about 1 foot by, which, well, it's, if I squeeze it a bit, about 30 inches. So I'm going to call that the front and 10 inches back. Right? Don't want to be much more. Don't matter if it sits a little bit funny. It's only for the show. So we'll do it here. So what I'm going to do is just measure that again. Remember, that's 11 inches. I want 10 inches really. I don't want more than 10. Because, as I say, they're all the same, and I went to my mates today and measured one. There we are. So anyway, the boat rescue went alright, as I say. And, oh dear. Pickles you get into, eh? You think this trap can last fine, you wait till you start boating. Oh dear. There's tales, you know, there's boating disaster tales. Legendary, they are. Absolutely legendary. Right, what I'm doing is I'm just roughly marking a few holes here to give me a line. Right, so now all we have to do, remember this is the back of the cushion, that's the front. Right, so all we have to do is cut down here as fairly straight as we can. As I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, because this wants to look as if it's been there a while. That's the plan this time. As I say, I was hoping to get some leather, you know, where I could have sewn it on my sewing machine. I've done that. That sewing machine will sew leather, even though I haven't got a proper leather needle, it will do it. The one problem I have got with this is I don't think I've got any needle to take that string that I unpicked, because I've got to use that to sew the sack up, haven't I? So that goes through there. There we are. Right, so that's my cushion. There we are. So we'll see if this will go in there. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad, I don't think. So we'll see. There's, as I say, a couple of little tears, but it won't go there. I'm looking for what will be the best. I think that is the best bit I want to use. Right, that doesn't look too bad there. And that bit, if you can see, that doesn't look too bad, does it? So I think that ought to be the front. I don't know if you agree with me or not. You probably don't. Most people don't agree with me. But tough, isn't it? Hey, right. Now, like I said, I'm no bespoke tailor. I don't know how big things need to be or how small or where you tuck pieces. You know, we don't know any of that business. So, actually, it could be, although I'd like that at the front, that wants to be on the bottom. That seam wants to be on the bottom. I've decided that. Yeah, there's enough there, and there's enough that way. So this might not be quite the disaster I thought it might turn out. We'll have to see. Well, I've about worked out what to do. I've had to cut loads of this earlier stuff, so you won't know what I've done. Anyway, the bottom line is, we want it to look as if a farmer has chucked a bag over a bit of sponge, and that's the sort of look we're after. So I've sort of worked it out. It's going to be about like that, which won't too bad. It'll look the part. And I looked in my sewing box. I thought, well, maybe a crochet could do it. I couldn't do anything else. Anyway, I found that, and I've just taped the string to it just to try it. And I need the glasses on, really. Don't want to see what I'm doing. That's better. And I think it may, if I poke that through there like that, just to put a tack in. There we are. And then that can come through like that. I may not use this one, I'm not sure, but we know how to sew. To cut and pull the end through. But yeah, as you can see, I'm going to struggle a bit. But you know, it is got to work end of the day. I should have held that bit, shouldn't I? I shouldn't be so stupid. Come on. So look, that goes through there. That will go through there, and as you can see, that, although it's going to take me quite a while, that will actually work. So that's the next step. Right, so I better get on and do it now, hadn't I? And then we can show you it and see what you think. That's the best way, isn't it? Right, We'll do that. By the way, I've been held up because you've seen the mess I've been making here. Well, of course, being on my own, you know, the good news is that I don't get anyone to moan at me. But the bad news is there isn't any shout of dinner on the table. Being head cook and washer-upper, you know, I've had to stop and go up and get my own, haven't I? So, there we are. Plus, of course, that I've got to clear my own mess up. But apart from that, we're alright. So, we'll get on and do it. Well, I've got it roughly tacked together, so it should give you some sort of idea what I've got to do. A bit of tidying up of the corners. You know, I'm going to have to obviously cut a bit out. One of them I probably might even have to redo because it's not gone very well. But anyway, I'll try and show you this. That idea didn't work, right? So I've had to make a needle. So what I've had to do is go upstairs and grind a flat on there and drill a hole, 2 little holes and like that. So I've made a needle, now it works. So what I'm going to do now, I've just tacked that side and that side. So just along this seam and that seam, I'm just now going to sew that up. So we'll do that, and then we'll have play with the corners. But it gives you some idea of the sort of shape of thing, and I think it's not going to look too out of place to what I want. Well, got it finished finally. What do you think? It's not that. I think I've achieved the desired effect, to be honest. There you are. You see? That'll be the back edge, because it's slightly rounded. The seat's round, isn't it? Sit on that bit. So I reckon that'll do. So there we are, finished. Right, well, I'm not quite finished. I'm not quite finished. I'm going to cut loads of this waffle out this video, but not really, because it's miles too long, I think. We'll see. Anyway, look, we'll have to get the maid to clear up the mess, won't we? Or the butler then. Oh dear. That's me, isn't it? Right. That'll do, won't it? I hope you've enjoyed this anyway, and you know, that's in all seriousness, I'm quite happy with that actually. It's considering I didn't know what I was doing, and I've had to make my own needle and everything else. That's come all right. Yeah. Now for the good news. I've no one to moan at me, so I can clear the mess up tomorrow. Good night.